Where are we going?
June. Your name is June. June Monroe. Say it.
June Monroe.
Say it.
June Monroe.
Now pick a place you live. The last place you live, the place you know.
Bethesda.
Bethesda. Then that's where you live. Anybody ask? You're June Monroe from Bethesda. You lost your wallet. I'm driving you home. My name is James. James and June. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that your name?
James? No. What? You don't know my name? What do you call me? What do you put in my blood work?
5.
5. The number 5? You know how many times we've met? 13. 13 exams over the last 4 years. And that's what I get now. Number 5.
This is Michael Faulkner, and it's showtime at the August 7th, 2012 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you by the Chronic Rift. Starting out with the box office report, this weekend's rundown kicks off with number 10 and Magic Mike, down 2 from 8th. At number 9 is Brave, down 2 from 7th. Coming in at number 8 is The Amazing Spider-Man, down 2 from 6th. In 7th is Ted, down 2 from 5th. And in 6th place is Step Up Revolution, down 2 from 4th. Coming in at 5th is The Watch, down 2 from 3rd as it takes $6.5 million for a total of $25.5 million. In 4th place is Ice Age Continental Drift, down 2 from 2nd with $8.6 million and a $132 million total. In 3rd place is new release Diary of the Wimpy Kid Dog Days, debuting with $14.6 million. That's way less than the previous 2 movies in this franchise, which debuted at $22.1 million and $23.8 million respectively. In 2nd place is new release Total Recall, premiering with $25.6 million. That ranks 2nd all-time among Philip K. Dick adaptations behind Minority Report's $35.7 million, and it's on track with the original Total Recall's $25.5 million. Of course, that doesn't consider the higher initial ticket sales for the original movie, which premiered 22 years ago. And first this week, for the 3rd week, is The Dark Knight Rises, adding another $35.7 million to a total of $353.9 million. On Sunday, The Dark Knight Rises passed the $350 million mark, making it the 3rd fastest movie to reach that point behind The Avengers and The Dark Knight. The movie is only $39 million behind what its predecessor had at this same point. Let's close out the box office report with a look at what was winning in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2007, Rush Hour 3 took number 1 with $49.1 million. 10 years ago in 2002, Triple X took the top spot with $44.5 million. 20 years ago in 1992, Unforgiven won the weekend with $15 million. 30 years ago in 1982, Friday the 13th Part 3 took away number 1 from E.T. with $19.4 million. And 40 years ago in 1972, Deliverance came in on top with $4.6 million. That film made it to number 1 on the 2nd week of release. The box office premieres the week of August 10th want to remind you that there was never just one. And they start with The Bourne Legacy, an action thriller starring Jeremy Renner, Rachel Weisz, and Edward Norton.
What's your name?
Kenneth Kitsum.
Where are you from?
Reno.
Will you give yourself to this program?
Yes, sir.
Right hand, please. Oh, that is healed well. Any diminished sensation?
No.
There is nothing that you wouldn't do for this country. You have the strength to do what's necessary.
Welcome to the program.
Jason Bourne was the tip of the iceberg.
Who the hell is he?
He's an outcome agent.
He's Treadstone without the inconsistency. We have never seen evaluations like this.
The Bourne Legacy is an expansion of the universe from the Robert Ludlum novels, centered on a new hero whose stakes have been triggered by the events of the previous 3 films. The Bourne Legacy is rated PG-13. The second wide release this week is The Campaign, a comedy starring Will Ferrell, Zach Galifianakis, and Jason Sudeikis.
How's my hair?
Strong. So strong.
My hair could lift a car off a baby if it had to.
Absolutely. Well, I like to hear.
Education is our future. Farmers are this nation's backbone. Bankers, women, veterans, Filipino tilt-a-whirl operators are this nation's backbone. Salamat.
Cam Brady will win his 5th term in Congress simply by signing the registration ballot. That's one of the perks of running unopposed.
Let's get this bad boy signed.
I don't know if that's supposed to be pushing or pulling. Hey!
Who is that guy?
This has been my dream, running for office.
You're challenging our 4-term congressman. How do you expect to do that?
Did I say that again? Now that I'm running for Congress, we're going to be under a lot of scrutiny. Anybody have anything that they want to share with us?
I said the Lord's name in vain at school.
Is that it?
I went to the petting zoo and I let the goat lick my wiener.
That little guy's a weirdo. I'm gonna smoke that clown.
We've got some work to do, right?
How you doing?
Hate to break it to you, friend, but your balloon's getting ready to pop. And that balloon's full of your own butt toots.
Are you trying to trash talk me?
Your mama's like a vacuum cleaner. She sucks, she blows, and gets laid in the closet. That's what nuts feel like.
Washington, D.C. is a mess. How do you say it's a mess in Hebrew?
Balagan.
Donkey Kong?
You want a holy war, little man?
Let me hear a Cam Brady 012. Oh, shove a throwing star up a Chinese monkey.
They want to get my gold on the ceiling.
I refuse to lose, and I will win.
This dog has a lot of fight in him.
Marty Huggins? What do you got there? Is that a crossbow? Ah! Oh! Black Hawk down!
Gentlemen, we've got some babies to kiss.
That's my baby to kiss.
Stop it!
They want to get my...
He just punched a baby.
Is anyone asking how my hand feels after punching that iron-like jaw of that baby?
In order to gain influence over their North Carolina district, 2 CEOs seize an opportunity to oust a long-term congressman, Cam Brady, by putting up a rival candidate. Their man, naive Marty Huggins, director of the local tourism center. The Campaign is rated R. And the last wide release this week is Hope Springs, a comedic drama starring Meryl Streep, Tommy Lee Jones, and Steve Carell. After 30 years of marriage, a middle-aged couple attends an intense week-long counseling session to work on their relationship. Hope Springs is rated PG-13. There are also 2 titles coming to limited release this week. The first is 2 Days in New York, a comedy starring Julie Delpy, Chris Rock, and Albert Delpy. Manhattan couple Marion and Mingus, who each have children from prior relationships, find their comfortable family dynamic jostled by a visit from Marion's relatives. 2 Days in New York is rated R. The other title is Red Hook Summer, a drama starring Jules Brown, Thomas Jefferson Boyd, and Tony Lasaith. A middle-class boy from Atlanta finds his worldview changed as he spends the summer with his deeply religious grandfather in the housing projects of Red Hook, Brooklyn. Red Hook Summer is rated R. Next up, we'll take a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of August 7th, and as always, we start out with new releases on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list has 3 titles this week. The first is Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, an animated comedy starring Zac Efron, Taylor Swift, and Danny DeVito. A 12-year-old boy searches for the one thing that will enable him to win the affection of the girl of his dreams. To find it, he must discover the story of the Lorax, the grumpy yet charming creature who fights to protect his world. Dr. Seuss's The Lorax is rated PG. The second title this week is Jesse Stone, Benefit of the Doubt, a TV movie drama starring Tom Selleck, Kathy Baker, and Cole Suddeth. Jesse Stone's involuntary retirement ends when the young sheriff who replaced him is blown up in the town police car. The loyal staffers who worked for Jesse have abandoned the department, and Jesse must try to solve the case on his own. Jesse Stone, Benefit of the Doubt, is not rated. And the third title is Belle Amie, a drama starring Robert Pattinson, Uma Thurman, and Kristen Scott Thomas. This is a chronicle of a young man's rise to power in Paris via his manipulation of the city's most influential and wealthy women. Belle Amie is rated R. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, we kick things off with Grimm Season 1 from 2011, starring Silas Weir Mitchell, Russell Hornsby, David Gintoli, and Sasha Ruiz. The classic Grimm's fairy tales come to life like never before in this dark and imaginative series from the producers of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. Portland homicide detective Nick Burkhart discovers he's descended from a long line of Grimms, who are charged with keeping balance between humanity and the creatures of myth. With newly awoken abilities to detect the evil lurking among us, Nick struggles to keep his old life separate and safe as he becomes ever more entrenched in the ancient rivalries of the Grimm world. Our next TV title this week is Parenthood Season 3 from 2011, starring Lauren Graham, Craig T. Nelson, and Peter Krause. Parenthood returns for its third season with 18 funny, surprising, and always true-to-life episodes. Big changes and big decisions await the colorful Braverman family, from welcoming a new family member and celebrating a new business venture to dealing with family illness and preparing for the future. Starring a stellar ensemble cast and featuring guest stars including Jason Ritter, John Corbett, and music sensation CeeLo Green, Parenthood may be the toughest job you'll ever love, but it's a whole lot more fun with this family around. Next up, we'll take a look at Gunsmoke, the 6th season, Volume 1 from 1960, starring Milburn Stone, Dennis Weaver, James Arness, and Ken Curtis. Matt Dillon is in charge of Dodge City, a town in the Wild West where people often have no respect for the law. He deals on a daily basis with the problems associated with frontier life, cattle rustling, gunfights, brawls, standover tactics, and land fraud. Such situations call for sound judgment and brave actions, of which Marshall Dillon has plenty. And we'll round out the TV titles this week with My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Royal Pony Wedding from 2012. Starring Tara Strong, Ashley Ball, Tabitha St. Germain, and Andrea Libman. You are cordially invited to the grandest wedding of all time. When it's announced that Twilight Sparkle's older brother, Shining Armor, is set to marry Princess Celestia's niece, Cadence, all the ponies in Equestria should be celebrating. But there's one pony in Ponyville who's not so thrilled with the news, Twilight Sparkle. Why is the young unicorn so concerned? And will the royal wedding go off without a hitch? Find out in the 2-part Season 2 finale special, and then join in for a perfect after-party. 3 more My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episodes. And as always, we'll close out the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past. This week we have 7 titles. The first is Grosse Pointe Blank, the 15th Anniversary Edition, a crime comedy from 1997 starring John Cusack, Minnie Driver, and Dan Aykroyd. Martin Blank is a professional assassin. He's sent on a mission to a small Detroit suburb, Grosse Pointe, and, by coincidence, his 10-year high school reunion party is taking place there at the same time. Grosse Pointe Blank is rated R. The next title is Clue the Movie, a crime comedy from 1985 starring Eileen Brennan, Tim Curry, and Madeline Kahn. 6 guests are invited to a strange house and must cooperate with the staff to solve a murder mystery. Rumor has it that all of the various endings are included on this disc. Clue the Movie is rated PG. Next up, we have Adventures in Babysitting, the 25th Anniversary Edition, an action comedy film from 1987 starring Elizabeth Shue, Maya Bruton, and Keith Coogan. Chris Parker agrees to babysit after her dread date stands her up. Expecting a dull evening, Chris settles down with 3 kids for a night of TV and boredom. But when her frantic friend Brenda calls and pleads to be rescued from the bus station in downtown Chicago, the evening soon explodes into an endless whirl of hair-raising adventures. Babysitter and kids leave their safe suburban surroundings and head for the heart of the big city, never imagining how terrifyingly funny their expedition will become. Adventures in Babysitting is rated PG-13. Next on the list, we have High Fidelity, a music drama from 2000 starring John Cusack, Eben Hailey, and Todd Luiso. Rob, a record store owner and compulsive list maker, recounts his top 5 breakups, including the one in progress. High Fidelity is rated R. Next up, we have Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion, the 15th Anniversary Edition, a comedy from 1997 starring Mira Sorvino, Lisa Kudrow, and Janine Garofalo. 2 women get into a lot of trouble when they go to their high school reunion and lie about their lives after 12th grade. Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion is rated R. The penultimate film on this list is Rio Grande, a romantic western from 1950 starring John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, and Ben Johnson. Rio Grande takes place after the Civil War when the Union turned their attention toward the Apaches. Union officer Kirby York is in charge of an outpost on the Rio Grande when his estranged son shows up as a new recruit. When the recruit's mother shows up to take him home, Trooper York decides to stay and fight, and Kirby and Kathleen fall back in love and decide that it's time to give it another try. But York faces his toughest battle when his unorthodox plan to outwit the elusive Apaches leads to a possible court-martial. Locked in a bloody Indian war, he must fight to redeem his honor and save the love and lives of his broken family. Rio Grande is rated approved. And the last title on the Blu-rays from the past this week is Spaceballs, the 25th Anniversary Edition. A sci-fi comedy film from 1987 starring Mel Brooks, John Candy, and Rick Moranis. Planet Spaceballs President Scroob sends Lord Darkhelmet to steal planet Druidia's abundant supply of air to replenish their own, and only Lone Star can stop them. Spaceballs, the 25th Anniversary Edition, is rated PG. The Weekly Podioplex will continue after this short promo.
In 2005, the crack unit of bloggers were banned by a web administrator for spam they didn't send. These men promptly created their own website in the cyberspace underground. Today, still wanting a place to discuss their fandom, they survive as bloggers of sci-fi. If you have a favorite show or movie, if no one else can understand you, and if you can type JONJA on your keyboard, maybe you can find Janja.net. At Janja.net, you can find discussions and reviews in sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and everything in between, as well as exclusive interviews with some of your favorite celebrities and filmmakers. Join our forums now and subscribe to the Janja.net podcast. Everything is free, and everything is fun. We'll see you online at Janja.net.
Welcome back. Next up, we'll take a look at the new releases for Netflix streaming for the week of August 5th to August 11th, and this week's list is a very short one. August 5th, 6th, 7th, 9th, and 10th are all quiet days. Wednesday, August 8th has one title, and that's Albert Nobbs, a drama from 2011 starring Glenn Close, Mia Wasikowska, and Aaron Johnson. Albert Nobbs struggles to survive in late 19th century Ireland, where women aren't encouraged to be independent. Posing as a man so she can work as a butler in Dublin's most posh hotel, Albert meets a handsome painter and looks to escape the life she's been living. Albert Nobbs is rated R. August 11th has two titles to round out the week. The first is A Little Bit of Heaven, a comedic drama from 2011 starring Kate Hudson, Gail Garcia Bernal, and Kathy Bates. An irreverent young woman who uses her humor to prevent matters from getting serious has a life-changing visit with her doctor. A Little Bit of Heaven is rated PG-13. The other title is Badass, an action drama from 2012 starring Danny Trejo, Charles S. Dutton, and Ron Perlman. A Vietnam veteran who becomes a local hero after saving a man from attackers on a city bus decides to take action when his best friend is murdered, and the police show little interest in solving the crime. Badass is rated R. And now we'll round out this week's edition with 5 items in the Quick Flicks. Marvel's cinematic Phase 2 is moving forward with Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And now there are details for Guardians of the Galaxy, which will be released in 2014 and is now undergoing a rewrite of the existing script. 3-time Blacklist screenwriter Chris McCoy is going to rewrite what Marvel is calling a space adventure movie, which includes characters such as Drax the Destroyer, a human resurrected as a Green Warrior with the sole purpose of killing Thanos, Groot, a giant tree man, Star-Lord, a gun-toting, half-human, half-alien intergalactic vigilante, Rocket Raccoon, a genetically engineered animal with a knack for guns and explosives, and Gamora, the last survivor of her species who was saved by Thanos to be his assassin but now battles him. General buzz in the geek community is a mix of excitement and caution. The Avengers succeeded in part because the team was made up of characters that Marvel had introduced over time with an idea of how they were going to interact together. Guardians of the Galaxy is a little bit different and includes fantastic elements like talking raccoons and trees, in a team that few audiences know, fighting a villain who has, to date, been only seen in a couple of brief scenes. I am, however, looking forward to the first scene between Tony Stark and Rocket Raccoon, where Tony Stark just looks at the raccoon and says, "Seriously? Am I talking to a raccoon?" Time will tell, but Marvel has done quite well so far. In further Marvel news, Thor: The Dark World might have a new bad guy to replace Mads Mikkelsen. Christopher Eccleston, best known as the Ninth Doctor on Doctor Who, is in final talks to play Malekith the Accursed, leader of the Dark Elves of Svartalfheim. Try saying that 3 times fast. Paramount's Jack Ryan reboot is in motion, with Chris Pine having been attached to play the Tom Clancy character for years. Now, director Kenneth Branagh has cast himself as the villain, and is narrowing the choices for Jack Ryan's future wife. There are 3 actresses vying for the part, and the frontrunner is rumored to be Keira Knightley. The other 2 potentials are Felicity Jones and Evangeline Lilly. The character was previously played by Anne Archer in Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, Gates McFadden in A Hunt for Red October, and Bridget Moynihan in The Sum of All Fears. One of the most liked scripts on last winter's Blacklist, that's the annual list of unproduced screenplays, was Chewie, a project about Chewbacca actor Peter Mayhew and his work on Star Wars. Chewie is now on the way to the silver screen, with Fanboys director Kyle Newman on board to develop. Described as a satirical behind-the-scenes look at the making of Star Wars, Chewie will focus on Mayhew's attempt to, quote, balance a career as a hospital worker while chasing his Hollywood dreams, end quote. Kyle Newman was able to secure Mayhew's life rights for Chewie and will work with the 7-foot, 3-inch tall actor to develop the picture. I'm personally very confident about Kyle Newman's work because I absolutely loved Fanboys. And finally, a little bit of news from the Chronic Rift as it relates to movies. Dan Persons has been a member of the Rift crew since the end of the original public access show's first season, when he wrote in a letter to express his enjoyment of the show. From there were appearances on the round tables, background crowd shots, and eventually his being named as the movie reviewer for the show. Now, 20 years later, Dan continues to be our movie critic on the podcast. He brings with him an impressive CV as a critic and interviewer for such sites as Air America and Cinefantastique Online. In addition, Dan has been producing his own podcast, the Mighty Movie Podcast, for over 3 years. In each episode, Dan interviews the writers, producers, and directors who make the vision a reality. Now we're proud to announce that Dan's show will be joining the Chronic Rift Network. The Mighty Movie Podcast makes an excellent fit with our mantra, finding the culture in pop culture. New episodes will be released in addition to releasing Dan's back catalog for the last 3 years. We are thrilled to have Dan on board, and we know that you will all welcome him by giving the show a listen. Welcome aboard, Dan. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, or to welcome Dan to the network, please take a moment to get in touch. You can surf on over to chronicrift.com and leave a note in the forums. You can leave a voicemail at 888-866-9010, or you can write to John at chronicrift.com. You can follow us on Tumblr, tweet us on Twitter, check into the network on GetGlue, watch the classics on Funny or Die, give us a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, and leave us a review on iTunes. You can also find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook and Google+. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make to the store supports the Chronic Rift. Look for the link in our show notes. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. This is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the theater.
If you're living in a bubble and you haven't got a care, well, you're gonna be in trouble, 'cause we're gonna steal your air. 'Cause what you got is what we need, and all we do is dirty deeds. We're the Spaceballs. Watch out! We're the Spaceballs. We're the masters of space.
Hey, don't mess around.
With the Spaceballs. Going cruising in a spaceship, we're so good at being bad. We'll destroy your little planet. with a Spaceballs.
You better.
Watch out, watch out.